Hello once again, everybody. Thank you once again for tuning into I'm Turning 30. My name is Mitch, and this is a series where every single week I talk about my past, present, and future, either opinions on things, things that I like doing, things that have made me who I am, and just kind of putting it out there into the void so I can look back on it later and people can see what's turned me into the human that I am as I approach the age of 30. If you don't know, when I was thinking about starting this series, 30 just always seemed like a big age where I was going to have all these things done and accomplished, and I was going to be at a certain point in my life. So I think it's important to just look back, just in general, on my life, see what's happened and where I think it will go, and be able to remind myself years down the line kind of what I've thought, see what opinions have changed, help me retain memories that maybe I have forgotten or people don't know about me that will be interesting to share. And without further ado, let's jump into today's topic. And as you can see, we're going to stick on the hobby train and go into gaming this week. Now with gaming, it basically goes back as far as I can remember. There are obviously some memories where I think that they're my oldest memories that I don't necessarily know if I was gaming, but there are videos of me at a young age watching my brothers or parents play a game, the very old Atari, Sega Genesis systems, and systems that were kind of just starting to release as I had been born. What I do remember is playing mini games with my siblings on the Nintendo 64. And when I would play with them, it would obviously be normal and we would be playing like Mario Party, and I think having kind of that normal experience that a lot of people had with a lot of their siblings. You know, you get angry at each other, maybe you toss a controller, just things like that. Things happen, and I wouldn't say like anything overboard. Like, I don't think I ever broke a Nintendo 64 controller or anything like that, but you get angry at each other, but you also have a good time. These amazing moments just kind of happen all of a sudden, and it just makes for good memories looking back, good quality time spent with people that were in your life. This includes friends as well. I would organize or have friends over to have tournaments and games before that was a thing. We're trying to figure out how to be competitive and like hook up our systems, and you do the split screen thing, and there was screen cheating, and there was all these things kind of going on as we were growing up, and the gaming sphere itself was kind of finding its footing. When I would play single player games, there would be many times where I would just get up right next to the TV and just be like, I don't know, maybe 3-4 inches from it, kind of like this. And for all I know, that kind of contributed to my kind of bad eyesight. I mean, the bad eyesight runs in my family, and my sister has worse eyesight than I do, I'm pretty sure, and she's never been as into gaming as I have. So I might have had a little bit better eyesight if I hadn't have done that to my eyes when I was a child. I think that my vision would still be bad even if I hadn't played games when I was a kid and been that close to the screen. A long time ago when I was a kid and as I was growing up, we had a lot of the different systems. I remember there are some videos either right before I was born or right after of my family playing Duck Hunt. I remember growing up, we had a Nintendo 64. I don't remember when we had got the Nintendo 64, when it was released. If one of my brothers bought it, if my parents bought it for the family, if my brother bought it for them, and everybody just kind of used it. But regardless, that was kind of my introduction, was the Nintendo 64 and games like Super Smash Bros, Mario Kart 64, Super Mario 64. Games like that were games that introduced me into the gaming world. I'll put some of my favorite N64 titles on screen right now. Although I really liked the Nintendo 64 and I played a lot of the different games on it, and I think that did kind of solidify that I was going to be a gamer kind of just all throughout my life, it wasn't until the year 2002 when I think I really cemented myself like, I'm going to play games, video games, for the rest of my life. Because before 2002, I still went and did other, I would say, like, young kid things. At that point, I would have been 8 years old, and before 8 years old, you're exploring, you're going out with friends, you're going to these parks, you're going to play random sports, you're practicing all these things. There's just a lot of different things that you kind of get up to as a kid, and I think gaming replaced that and made it so that I didn't explore other hobbies because I was enjoying this one thing that I found so early in my life. But the reason that it changed in 2002 is because for Christmas that year, 2 new consoles had released. the Nintendo GameCube, and the Xbox. The original OG Xbox had released. PlayStation 2 had also come out, but I received the GameCube from my parents. They knew that we had a Nintendo 64, that this one was new. I and my brothers had asked for it to play these new updated games because, you know, everything was going to be on discs now. Everything was going to kind of be updated, and because so many people in our family used it to play, it was mostly for me, but we all used the GameCube when we first got it to kind of play the newer games that were released. Unbeknownst to my parents, if I recall correctly, they didn't know that I was also getting an Xbox, because while they had bought me the GameCube together, my grandmother had gotten me the Xbox. And I think that there was no consultation done, and when I opened it and saw that there was an Xbox inside, I think my parents were also surprised that I got another gaming system to go along with the GameCube. And so that Christmas specifically is just one of the best Christmas memories that I have, is opening both of those consoles. I also got a bike that year. There was just a lot of, like, I feel like big events that just happened like right on that Christmas day. So that day specifically, I was like, I have two consoles. I can play this new world of games, especially now that there's a Xbox. It's not made by Nintendo. There's this totally different type of gaming that I can get into with this system. And again, I will put my favorite GameCube games up on screen right now. As well as my favorite OG Xbox titles. Now going forward, I, would start trying to figure out how to get games, whether it was doing something for my parents to have them buy me a game, it was my brothers buying a game, doing odd jobs around the neighborhood to spare up cash and go to the game store to get my one game every few months or so. I would find a way to get games for each system. A big part of what I did was actually going to Blockbuster. And for those of you who don't know what Blockbuster is, you are so young, and it's crazy that you don't know what Blockbuster or Hollywood Video or any of those places are. And even if you know what it is, you're like, yeah, of course I know what it is. You probably never went to one. You just know about it because, like, you've read about it or you've seen that these articles about things that, like, younger people don't know about. Like, I can't explain the feeling of going into a Blockbuster or like a Hollywood Video to rent a movie or a game. It was just so different than it is nowadays. I think that the rentals were under $5 per week, and my dad would kind of just take me. I would choose one. I'd just grind that game for a week, and then I would never play it again. At least that's how it was when I first got the consoles, if my older brothers or my parents didn't purchase a game for me to play on the console. Until a couple of years later. Now, a couple of years later, we actually ended up getting a PlayStation 2 as well when they came out with a slim version. So I had access to all three consoles growing up. Granted, I didn't pay as much attention to the PlayStation 2. I had already kind of locked into the GameCube and Xbox scene and done basically research, because that's kind of when the internet was kind of popping up and I could figure out what games were coming out around then. So I was kind of already engrossed in those two and didn't pay as much attention to the PlayStation 2, but I did have a few games on there that I played as well. Now, what changed around the same time that we got the PlayStation 2 as well was my Xbox ended up getting modded. My dad had a friend from his work. I think his name was Rob. I don't know why I remember his name. I think that's what his name is. I could be totally wrong. It was a friend from his work from a long time ago that knew how to mod Xboxes. And what this mod that his friend knew how to did gave it a way bigger storage space and allowed you to insert a disc and then download the disc onto it, essentially, so you could play it digitally. You no longer needed the disc inserted to play the game. It would just hard copy it onto the Xbox. Another big thing that came with this Xbox was access to old systems as well. There was downloaded games from Saturn, Sega Genesis, SNES, NES, and the Nintendo 64 that I was able to play through the Xbox. And to this day, I still own that Xbox. I can go back, turn on the Xbox, boot up the Nintendo 64 mod and play Mario Party 2 if I want to. There were quite a few add-ons that this mod brought, and the fact that I still have it, that the Xbox still works, I think maybe it still works because it is modded, and there were certain things that the Xbox didn't have to go through having to maybe run the disc, or I don't know. It still works. I like to pretend it's because it was modded, but I have this like little piece of history in this box and these games that I can play that would be otherwise very difficult to obtain and play. Well, I think at least for most people. I'm sure that there are easy ways nowadays because it's way easier with the advances in technology, but obviously that box was such a draw for people to come and play these titles that had gone away, or maybe people sold their Nintendo 64s because the new consoles came out but they wanted to go back, but now you can't find them and things like that. And having access to be able to play those old titles on my Xbox was just huge. Another fun thing it did is it turned it into a DVD player as well. I could watch movies on it if I wanted to. So yeah, that modded Xbox really did a lot in bringing people to my house to want to play games. It was very helpful for making friends, for showing us different games, for being on a budget. Like, having to just rent the game for $5 but then being able to keep it forever was so big. Like, my dad was much more willing to bring me to Blockbuster to spend $5 because he knew that I would have this game forever. Like, it was so helpful, and I got to play so many cool games and have them because of that, and not have to worry about grinding them out. And one more thing happened during this time, and I definitely can't go through an entire gaming video without mentioning it, and that is my first ever PC games that I played. RuneScape and Adventure Quest. To this day, RuneScape is still one of my favorite games to just log in and just get this nostalgic rush. I still love doing the quests, seeing how the models and everything is just in the game, going woodcutting, doing fire making just for fun. I don't know, it's just like this big nostalgic rush, and I just genuinely enjoy logging in. Now with RuneScape, I, to this day, still just absolutely love logging into RuneScape. I never consistently grinded as much as other people. I've never hit 99 in a skill. I think the highest combat level I've ever gotten to is like 92 or something, maybe 80 something on one of my characters. I can't remember. So I've never really hit the pinnacle, or I've never like maxed on anything. I've never done all the quests, anything like that. But there's something about RuneScape and its nostalgia, its simpleness, I don't know, there's just something about old school RuneScape now that is just so fun to go back to. And back then, as my first PC game, was just a fun time to be able to talk to these other random people that were logging in around the world and doing essentially the same thing. I think there's memes of this out there, but like RuneScape taught me about what scams are, what people will do to get important items off of you to try to trick you into doing certain things. It taught me about market and trading and how to sell things, how to stand out, where to sell things. It has this like weirdly real world impact on my life and figuring out like how certain things and how certain people behave. So shout out to RuneScape. Really still love it to this day. Obviously don't play it as much. I have created new accounts every once in a while and kind of just will grind them for a week or so and then kind of just abandon them. But it is always fun to go back and sometimes log on to my even original character on the now RuneScape 3 and just look back and know that I created this character when I was like 11, and it still exists to this day, and I'm about to turn 30 years old. Like, that's a wild thing to me to think about. And then really quickly, I had to throw Adventure Quest in here too, because I basically started both at the same time. I was looking for a game to play because I couldn't play World of Warcraft because it was a subscription service per month plus the game, I think, or something. I couldn't get it because of the price point, and RuneScape was free at the start, and so was this Adventure Quest game. Now, what ended up happening, I ended up spending money on RuneScape and Adventure Quest. I'm not sure even if Adventure Quest is still up or if it works. I think you just go to adventurequest.com. I don't even think it's anything you download. I think it was a web thing. I can't even remember. I'm pretty sure it was just a web thing. Actually, let me check really quick. All right, so I just checked, and it looks like they are still releasing content for Adventure Quest, which again is crazy. But I remember I paid for Adventure Quest, and I paid for like this lifetime character thing. It was like one big payment so that my character would like never get deleted, or I'd have access to all these things. I'll put like an image or maybe a video or on screen here about kind of what it looked like. It was very basic, very just random, like early internet flash game in the browser type of thing, but for some reason I really liked it, and it was one of the first PC games that I ever played. Now, because of that one Christmas where I got an Xbox and a GameCube, further down the line, not the exact same thing happened, especially because I was getting to an age where I could now buy the consoles myself, but I ended up getting a Wii and an Xbox 360 at the same time. I, again, wasn't just in the PlayStation scene, and the PlayStation 3 was the first console that was $500 ever, and that seemed like a lot. And I was already kind of in the Nintendo Microsoft area, so I just stuck with the 360 and the Nintendo Wii. Here are some of my favorite titles from each of those. I think it starts to get a little bit muddy here because I just started playing so much, but these are some of my favorites on each. And obviously as we get further up the line, stuff gets more recent, so like these recommendations are a lot easier to still play, but these are some of the games that I had the best time with. This was a very important era of my life as well, for one major reason. When I was around the ages of 10 to 14, I had friends that enjoyed playing games with me. I had friends that would come over and play RuneScape with me. We had a dual computer setup. We would both be playing RuneScape together, questing, doing events, things like that. Just playing, maybe chatting, or we would be playing something on the GameCube or the Xbox. But when the Wii came out, there was a shift, I think, in how I interacted with my friends. See, when the Wii first came out, it felt very, I think, fresh and new, and many people wanted to play it, but I feel like after a while, it just had like weird games. There weren't like these big titles, big things that drew you in. It was just kind of funny to watch people kind of like bumble their way through these random games. Like, I remember there was an Avatar: The Last Airbender game on the Wii that I got, and it was just like straight trash. And I remember my friends coming over and watching me play it, and like, this game looks like straight trash. And my friends at that point were also getting influenced by someone that I mentioned earlier in one of my other videos who didn't really like me, and so they weren't coming over as much because I was the guy that just stayed inside and played video games. So there was a little bit of bullying going on where I wasn't necessarily hanging out with my friends at the time that much, or they were getting influenced by someone else to not do so. And because the Wii had online play, and online play started coming into play around Wii, Xbox 360 kind of later era, there was Xbox Live and things like that. I was one of those teenagers that got it and played the online. Now, with the Wii, I had Wii Online before I ever had Xbox Live. Xbox 360, I eventually got it, but I would mostly just play single player games on my Xbox 360 at first. But with the Wii, I was playing online games, and one of the big games that I played was a game called Mario Strikers Charged. Now, if you don't know anything about Mario Strikers Charged, break it down for you really easy. It's a Mario soccer game, and the reason that this game was very important and pretty helpful just for me growing up is there was a leaderboard. It would put one person every day. They had the most wins, or they had the most goals that day, or assists or something. There was a leaderboard that you could see every single time you went to play an online match. Their Mii's face from the Wii would be plastered there with their name and whatever achievement it was. I can't remember if it was points or what it was, but regardless, their name was there, and I started constantly seeing names that had brackets with like 2 letters and then what I would assume is their gamer tag. And I remember thinking, what are these like brackets? I feel like I just see these people and they're always on the leaderboard, and I couldn't figure it out. I was like, how do I like figure out what these people's names are? Like, do I just guess? Do I ask like my friends? And I couldn't figure it out because, again, I was kind of getting distanced, and it was really hard to figure out what it was. And I don't know why it clicked one day, but I still remember it showed who you played on the leaderboard as well. I logged in one day and I saw the brackets. WH was inside the brackets, and I saw the name Bubbles. Bubblez. And he was a Yoshi player and was on the leaderboard for something. And I was like, all right, I have to figure this out. And my brain was like, you could just use the internet. At this point, for some reason, I had never tried to type in on the internet that exact name or what that was. I eventually did it, and it brought me to a website. And this website, and I'm pretty sure this is gone now, it might still exist in some aspect. I doubt it, honestly. I'm actually going to check for y'all again. I'm pretty sure it's gone. All right, to be honest, I just went down a rabbit hole right there. The website definitely isn't up anymore, so I could definitely bring it up, but I just went down a whole rabbit hole, and man, oh man, I could talk so much about this topic and what happened. But essentially what happened was this WH was a Wii clan. This is when clans began to form, things like, I think the most popular, most people know, is FaZe Clan, things around that nature, except I found a forum for the Wii. And to make a long story, a very long story, especially with everything that's happened, I found this website. They held tryouts to join the clan. I essentially stuck around for months on end until I finally got to be a member, a legitimate member of the clan, by placing and doing very well in Mario Strikers Charged after a lot of practice with Peach. However, they had many different games that they played, and it was a community that I found when my friends in real life kind of started to distance themselves or not try to hang out with me as much due to influences of other people in the neighborhood. I found a thriving online community that treated me as a friend, and to this day I still keep in contact or am friends and have their social medias. The people that I met on that forum, I will never forget. They changed my life and helped me see the good in online creators and what people can do. I got sent a headset and a mic so I could talk while I was playing games with them because I didn't have one. There's a whole lot of things that happened as a result of me joining this clan and just seeing that picture up there. And there's so much I could get into with that, but just know that I joined this Wii clan with a bunch of other people. I think we had 50 to 100 members, and we had a forum that we could post on and talk shit about video games and anime and just random things. There was a live chat at some point. We had forums where you could just talk about anything. There was off topic, there was gaming, there was specific competitive stuff, there was TV shows, there was a sports thread, there was just a bunch of things, and I wanted to just be everywhere. I was posting on all of them. Again, there's a lot that I could say about this, but it genuinely changed my life finding this online community and figuring out I would be able to make friends almost anywhere or have people that I could rely on and play games with. And I have a lot of different memories related to gaming, but these are just like very big, like transformative ones to me. I have a lot of good times of things that I've tried to do in games with friends, or funny things that have happened, or things that have not gone well, or broken controllers in other future consoles, or people getting really competitive and trying to grind out a certain game to be the best at it, and then we don't talk to each other for a week, come and fight on the game and to like settle our differences. There's a lot that's gone into gaming to make me who I am and teach me a lot of things and help me figure out and be confident in myself, realizing that I can make friends a certain way, that people will be kind to me based on my hobbies regardless of what they are. But yeah, gaming as a whole, joining that clan just really helped me figure those things out. And then as we get older and as we're kind of winding down the video here, we get more into the modern era, so kind of the era we're in now. I eventually got a Xbox One and kind of just stuck with the Xbox for quite a while until the Switch came out. I eventually got a Nintendo Switch as well, and those are kind of the consoles that I stuck with. But at some point, I think it was in 2017, all of my friends started to murmur and start buying PC parts. And so I did the same thing, and I introduced myself to PC gaming around then, and that's my main source of playing games now. If it releases on PC, I likely will play it on PC. I don't really use much consoles anymore. I still use my Switch because obviously the Switch games don't release on PC, but my PC now is the main source of playing games. And obviously now, while my old gaming clan forum doesn't exist, even though I know the guys, there's plenty of places that I can still connect with people. I think the big one now is Discord, which is very similar to what we had, but much cruder back in the day. But it's a lot easier now to just kind of keep up and find people that really vibe with your opinion and taste and understand what you mean when you say you like a certain game because of this or don't like it because of that. And to not leave Sony and PlayStation out, I did never own a PlayStation. Never have, besides the PlayStation 2 for a very brief time. I have played PlayStation games, whether that be at a friend's house or have a roommate that has a PlayStation, or just some way, somehow, I've played PlayStation games, and there are many good PlayStation games, but just wasn't a big part for me. Although, one of my favorite games of all time is a PlayStation game. Now, I don't want to go into detail about each one of my favorite games because, again, the video would be way too long and I could just talk about them forever because they are my favorite games. But here are a sample size of some of my either 10 out of 10s or very high 9s, and just games that I thoroughly enjoyed playing that really turned me on either to a certain genre, mechanic, or just loving and understanding that I love playing games as a hobby. Now going forward, and even as I meet new people here in Japan, online, just in general, I don't think I still see myself ever moving away from gaming. I meet new people that play games that I play, or they introduce me to these games that I've just never heard of that are amazing, and it really just seems like until I draw my last breath, I will want to be playing games and seeing what the gaming world has to offer. So I look forward to, in the future, playing games with you if we game together. If we don't, I'd recommend looking into gaming. There are so many different types of games nowadays, and there's most likely one that fits the genre, a style, the feeling that you want to feel while you are doing a different hobby. Maybe besides being active, there are a few active things, and I think a lot of people know about, like Wii Fit. There's one called Ring Trainer, I think is what it's called, or Ring Fit right now, that's pretty popular. There's different ones that you can be active, but I think that might be the only thing you can't necessarily replicate. But as far as staying indoors wise, there is something I think that will click with anybody, so I highly recommend you try to get into some type of game. I'm not saying you have to make it one of your biggest hobbies, but I think that there is a universe out there for you that you haven't seen that you would love. But that's going to be it for today, guys. Thanks once again for tuning into the I'm Turning 30 series. I really do appreciate you guys stopping by every single week. Really means the world to me. If you like this video and you want to know more about my gaming or something that I said in the video, leave it down in the comments down below. I'll think about doing a part 2 or expanding on something that I mentioned that people really want to know about. Also, if you enjoy the series in general, if you've popped in here, you've gotten recommended these videos, and you were like, yeah, this guy's got some good points, or hey, this guy was fun to listen to, click that subscribe button. I'm uploading a video every single week up until I turn 30, and it will just be on a range of different topics, differing lengths. I'm sure this one's going to be quite a long one, but hey, you got time to kill, right? But I'll be putting out a video every single week up until I turn 30. So if you like this content, feel free to subscribe, like the video, and comment down below if you want me to cover a certain topic in specific. But that's all for today. Thank you once again for tuning into the I'm Turning 30 series. My name is Mitch. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.